I have come across to this topic after a large experience of teaching dance over 10 years in various countries. Through the time, I have started to see a need of change on the dancer's physical preparation and skills development. Then, it came to me the thought of reflecting about the teacher's presence at the classroom, how important it is and if it is relevant her physical presence for conducting a course, how much a dance teacher should be involved in executing combinations in order for the students to learn satisfactorily, inspired, and motivated. Research is the most common word applied among dance, as movement research, artistic research, and practice research. But this research, development, and innovation project could also be categorized as pedagogical research. All of them are centered on the benefit there is in the power of experiencing process, rather than in the result or outcomes. Many artists had applied experimental and observational empirical research to find and create. Dance in general is in a constant transformation, and ways of preparing and conditioning the body, it is also broadening through mixing techniques and mindsets. Dance is bringing new concepts and ideas of way of performing. Therefore, dance technique teachers are facing challenges and must reflect on their teaching methods to fulfill the dancer needs and what the market requires. On the other hand, nowadays, the preparation of the body faces some contradictions depending on the choreographic and artistic needs. I got some starting questions to this project to find what it could be the dancer needs in order to be physically and technically prepared, and what kind of methods dance teachers could consider to apply to fulfill their needs. My first question is about which are the differences and benefits between model and non-model based learning. The second is about the line between reactive learning, self-instructed learning, and the instructions of appliance. And third is about definitions and appliance of content and form for contemporary dance technique teachers. Through a long dance career as performer and later as teacher, I have discovered the importance of the understanding and innovation of movement. I've been dedicated to develop my own vocabulary based on a rigorous study of the structural and physical possibilities relating to the functioning of the body. I have started to analyze different possibilities of approaching movement in order to let the student understand what, why, and how they are doing, rather than simply delivering a specific type of form of combination shape. I've been interested in discovering and how to apply more knowledge around the topic form, formless, and content and form, and implementing concepts founded in Latin American roots, urban subcultures, self-defense techniques, all linked to human body anatomy. It all started with the question of how could I reach and provide information to dancers from other countries that often write to me asking when I will be teaching there and there, or asking to keep them updated when I will be giving a course next time. Then I started to think how could I access to them. The initial idea was to create an online course through live or preset lessons, but I quite fast lost the interest because it felt to me flat and bidimensional. That's when it came to me the question of the teacher's presence at classroom, how it is important his and her physical presence and what kind of role of information provider must have and under which circumstances. I will bring Butterworth Didactic Democratic Spectrum Model, which is a choreography-based structure where it clarifies the different roles of the choreographer on 5 different stages, whether it's as expert, as author, as pilot, as facilitator, or collaborator, and the dancer's actions and responsibilities on each of the stages. Maria Fey accounts in one of her books about a dance teacher named Lily Kalai, saying that dancers do not train, only soldiers, policemen, athletes, circus artists, and animals are trained. Dancers are prepared and conditioning their body on the best way for a better performance. Of course, it will be difficult in a way to compare it with dance teaching since it's a choreography model structure. But I could relate it somehow. There are two of the processes that I could get interested, which are the role model as author, where in this case the teacher has the control of the concept, content, and the structure of the class, and the dancer has the role as interpreter, receive the instructions and apply their own experience as performer. And the model a facilitator, where the teacher contributes the method and provides the stimulus, and the dancer takes the role as creator and responding to tasks, problem solving, and has an active participation during the process. Here is when it gets exciting. The project had started with an open course for professionals. There I tried 3 different ways of teaching models, which are fully present, simultaneous teaching, and non-present. So what those models mean? With the fully present is more like standardized teaching. I show the set material with providing formal exercises and explaining it well before doing it. Simultaneous teaching meaning guiding while the actions are happening at the same time, leaving in that way a space for interpretation for the practitioner, though I found it very interesting. And non-present means learning through audio or video. This is a more distant and holy way of accessing to information that does not really need the physical presence of the teacher at the classroom. It is more experiential based form. Particularly the auditory practice, it was new appliance for me to include on my teaching. I have shared audios to dancers in Sweden, China, Russia, Turkey, Colombia, Panama, and different regions of Finland. For them, it was also a new practice experience. We dance technique teachers must be aware and responsible of the quality of movement. But quite often, repetitors and choreographers are demanding to technique teachers and to dancers that technique should be considered only as a vehicle of expression. That brings with it that still today, the dancer is still concerned more on the what to do than how to dance it, and unfortunately, not questioning how they feel. I have made audio recordings and shared them mainly to dancers and performers. I wanted to know how it was interpreted and understood the audio guidance. I asked them to listen at it, reproduce it, and later to share their experience with me. I have found that the audios have to be clear, very specific, easy to understand, well directed, and not too complex, especially if the dancer have never done previous dance practice with me. Later, I interviewed them to ask about how it was the experience. Though there was an audio I applied while teaching in the open course on the middle of the class, which was already more complex information and challenging for the listener. I could see how the dancers puzzled to figure it out. After a few times listening it, at the end they found it exactly how it was supposed to be. I found that made the class space lower in terms of condition building, but it brings something else, which is the satisfaction of finding it out, then doing it with the music and on the space. Well, yes, there is something very interesting on the auditory learning since every auditory experience is a learning process for the nervous system and the cognitive, and engender biological changes in sound processing. I have found out that there are three cognitive components of the framework of auditory learning. Listening is an active process that engages cognitive networks. The precision of automatic sound processing in the brain is linked to cognitive skills such as attention and working memory. And the cognitive system engaged during listening selectively modulates the aspects of sound that are behaviorally relevant. It is an interesting practice, but it also works as a mindset, especially if it's applied on the first part of the class or if the class is improvisation based, aiming something specific, which is more content and experiential minded than form directed. To describe and explain exercises in words, it might take a long time, while to show it takes only the movement itself. And for copying the movement requires mainly the student's visual memory. On simultaneous practice, there is space for personality, spontaneity, imagination, and individual interpretation. Many dance techniques today continue working with the watch and copy method, while in others, the dancers face different demands.
So overall, it was really interesting. If we like we were working with the audio and with the idea that if I don't know or if I don't see, does it make some kind of a difference and what kind of a difference? And where I'm paying my attention, where the other people are paying their attention, and how does it change with what is the kind of instruction? Is it audio? Is it visual? Are you present or not? So I think it was really interesting. And also that there was time to like do and talk, so then we were able to share our experiences, which is important. Then I also hear what the other people experience, and it's not about me wondering how I felt about it. Mm-hmm. The audio can be quite demanding, and then it's about like what kind of details you put there or not, and are you willing to put there details. Then it's also about because I'm used to work through the exploration, so I find it nice that there's space for my decisions. that I can find the way that it feels good for me, or I can work with the different ways. But then again, if you wouldn't be so familiar with exploration and you're more used to the strict form that someone is present there all the time and you can kind of copy him or her, then it's again different situation, I feel. But it's in these times when it's a lot about media and audio and visual, then it's good also to kind of explore it through your own practices, I think. But my personal opinion is really nice also because the time is like this, that it's a lot of about the visual and audio. Then when the person is present there, it's quite nice.
It was also different when we were doing an exercise guided by voice, and then you were there present doing the same exercise with us. We talked about it already, but it's interesting, like you have already guidance, but you still like keep on looking and checking with the teacher, like if you're doing it right, kind of. So it's like, I think it's a habit, like from a technical class, when you keep on checking from the teacher if you're doing okay. And I think for me it was very nice experience of using the audio voice, and how can I like be present there with my body and with my movement, and not keep on like checking with the people if I'm doing right or wrong, and like how can I like work with it and find my own solution. How can I get out of it if I struggle? How can I get out of it by myself? Or yeah.
I believe that the conventional way of teaching dance through applying the form of watch and copy is the most practical, efficient, and beneficial to keep the students going into developing their physical skills. But I also believe there is potential in the practice of auditory and simultaneous learning for dancers and non-dancers to understand better their body. It is required fundamentally of their own initiative of learning and practicing that specific form. The outcome of this innovative project is that what really matters is the power of the process of seeking and finding rather than an immediately result. I have found an interesting access of guiding through this way, but it is also a very demanding practice, of course, depending on the moment it is applied and what is the purpose of it. Now, what's next? I like to find more possibilities there is in the auditory and simultaneous teaching, through coaching in a similar way as somatic practices does. The teacher who has a somatic knowledge feels better prepared at the moment of how to share their knowledge and approach the students, especially dance students, helping them to be more subjective in relation with their body. I will keep developing audios directed to specific target groups and keeping in contact with the movement enthusiasts that have been interested in my work.